serves as the artistic director for City Music Boston's high school academy. And she works collaboratively with the programming team to implement creative and forward-thinking curriculum, musical production, student performance development for our City Music Boston students each year. She's also a Berklee professor. She's a Grammy-nominated artist and accomplished educator. Ms. Fuller has been the featured saxophonist with pop diva Beyonce. She's featured on the I Am Sasha Fierce tour, the Beyonce Experience, and Live at Wynn Theater worldwide tours. In addition, she has served as an assistant musical director for Esperanza Spalding's Radio Music Society tour, and she's also performed with the fabulous Miss Terry Lynn Carrington on her Mosaic Project and Money Jungle tours. She's a devoted educator, and Tia directs Berklee's Beyonce, Bruno Mars, Ariana Grande, and Mickey Miller ensembles, and also directed the Black History Month experience and performance at Berklee this past February. And while she balances the worlds of education and performance, she is instrumental in facilitating masterclasses, clinics, and lectures worldwide. So she is very booked and busy. So we really appreciate her being here with us today, sharing her wisdom and giving you all a chance to ask her some direct questions. So without further ado, I am going to spotlight Miss Tia Fuller on the screen. Awesome. All right, you have the floor. I think you're muted, Tia, but
okay, there we go.
We can hear you now. Hi, Tia. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Wow.
Of course. Yeah, you've done a lot. You've done a lot. So we are excited to hear about it all.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be speaking with everyone. Hi, everybody. I'm scrolling through just to see who's here and his name. So it's really an honor to be here talking with you today.
Yes. How has your quarantine been going? And I know you've been teaching, you've been performing, you've been doing a lot of stuff virtually. So it's been exciting to watch that as well.
Yeah, thank you. The quarantine has been it's been really good for me actually, and I think this is the most that I've been home in like 20 years.
Wow.
Like sleeping in the same bed night after night after night, because usually I'm bouncing on a plane and then coming home and then moving around. So it's funny because this morning I woke up and I bought all these plants for this event that we had this weekend.
Yeah.
And I can actually nurture some plants without them dying. So it's been really a blessing to be still and have a certain level of consistency and working on different projects. It's just been nice to be home. Did I say that already?
Yeah. Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah, it's nice to be home and to just kind of be still and focused on the things that my upcoming projects. I've been writing
Good.
next album, and that always is a slow process. But and I've been cooking a lot, been grilling. I kind of amped up my deck in the back, so
nice.
Kind of feels like a little vacation deck, small little deck. But it's fun.
Staycation.
Yeah, staycation. Amen to that.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, and I'm excited to hear that you've been writing and creating, and I want to definitely hear about your process with that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So obviously in my introduction, you've done so much and wear many hats within your career, and I am curious to just give the kids a taste. I feel fortunate that I've been able to work with you, especially more this year, and how to experience your expertise in real time. But how did you become the Tia Fuller? Like, I know that's a big. What has your journey to becoming the musician and the professional that you are today? Like, what has that been like? And what have been some like key moments you feel have really shaped who you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I'm still becoming,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that it becomes more relevant and evident every day. But as far as how I got here, like my journey to this point, I came from a very spiritually grounded and musical family. Both of my parents are educators and also musicians. So it was a beautiful balance in our household of art and music. My mom, she started off as an English and a drama teacher, and then my
Okay.
dad started off as a gym teacher. But they both retired as assistant principals of middle schools. And so I remember, sitting at the kitchen table, with my family, and my mom was very keen on us speaking properly, so she would be correcting our grammar. But then on the weekends, we'd be going to gigs with them. My dad plays bass, my mom sings,
Oh,
and
nice.
so I grew up hearing the band is called Fuller Sound. Actually, it's like a double
Oh,
entendre.
Dan, yes.
But yeah, so just grew up with music in the household, but also a strong value of education and overall just the arts, of being exposed. I was never forced to play, but my mom did say you do have to play piano until you're about 12, and then you can find your whatever other voice is. And so I came to the saxophone when I was about 11, and I was just so taken just by the saxophone. I started wearing all this saxophone paraphernalia. I must have been
Yeah.
10, 11. And I was kind of perpetrating. But I had earrings, a saxophone necklace, and a
Yeah.
t-shirt. And I was just like, "Whoa." And I really didn't know how to play at that point.
That's
But
all right.
yeah, right. But the excitement of the instrument, and of course, hearing my parents rehearsing in the basement of our house, like they always had a saxophone player. So then when I got to middle school, um, uh, I knew that I wanted to try and be a part of my parents' band because
Yeah.
my older sister had already started playing. She plays piano.
Oh, nice.
And so I really, I asked my band director, because I was playing flute at the time,
Mhm.
and I was like, what could, I want to play another instrument that's a little bit louder. The flute, it was like half the air is escaping this way, and
Yeah.
you're lightheaded. And so he said, well, you can play the saxophone because it's very similar fingerings.
Yeah.
So that's what started me on my trajectory of saxophone playing, and all throughout middle school, in high school, I was doing a lot of different things. I was like in this acting and dance pool at one point. I was in gymnastics, and then I went to high school and I was playing saxophone in jazz band, and then I started playing drums in the marching band.
Wait a minute. I didn't know all this. I didn't know all this. Okay, all right.
It's
Also, the dancing part makes sense because we saw you in Dancing with the Stars at
oh god, oh, you know so that's been at least 30 some plus years since I did it. And yeah, that's another story. The dancing, it was fun though. It was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. It was great.
But yeah, so I so yeah, in high school I started playing drums, and the drum instructor recruited all of these woodwind players, and I was like, once again, I wanted something louder because the saxophone and marching band wasn't loud enough for me.
Yep.
So I was like, okay. So I played quads for 3 years. And let me tell you, Samantha and everybody else out there, like it was predominantly girls, like young ladies, and we were out there killing it. We were out there killing it. And it was the greatest thing because we would be at marching band competitions.
Yep.
And we would be doing, how the drum line set up.
Yep.
And then we play like hit this roll together that's like really tight. And then everybody's like, dang. And then we take off our hats and everybody would see our hair kind of fall. It's like, what the girls?
Yep.
So I think I'm saying that to say that really set me off on a strong trajectory of discipline and the amount of hours, because I was practicing drums probably 4 to 5 hours a night, just rudiment on my now torn up yearbook.
Oh, no.
I still have it. It has like thousands of dents in it. But at that point, it really built a certain amount of discipline in order to get to a certain place and align yourself with your big picture, what you have to do and the sacrifice that you have to make, but it's always possible. So I'm trying not to be so long-winded, but basically, and then also being surrounded by other strong women and a couple of women of color, but we were strong and we were powerful. So then, when I graduated high school, I ended up going to Spelman College, which is a
Yep.
historically Black all-girls school, and with the all-boys school right across the street, and and that wasn't a music school, but I chose in my brain to really think about, okay, what is it that I want to do? And again, how do I want to align myself with my vision, my crystallized vision? And I knew at that point I wanted to move to New York.
Yeah.
So I had a practice schedule, like a practice journal that I would put together every week on Sunday night. And I would write down 7 a.m. workout, 8 a.m. breakfast, 9 a.m. long tones, 10 a.m. theory class, da, da, da. And I would map out my entire day and make sure I check off certain things to tap in. So all of that to say that these practices that I started early on, I've really tried to dig deeper into. Yeah. Even still today, like right now, I'm going to turn my computer around, but I have, you guys see that? It's like my list, vision board, daily goals. Yeah. And it's just that for me, I'm a visual person. So and because I'm kind of everywhere doing a lot of different things, it helps me to see what what the big picture is that I'm working on.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, when you're like, channeling your creativity in so many directions, it's like good to have a place where you anchor it all, and you can be reminded of it every day when you sit down and look at it, and it like keeps you aligned. So yeah, I think that's so important, and it's awesome that you established that work ethic early on, and you really like dug deeper and tried to really develop those skills to keep yourself on track, throughout, and also having a strong, clear vision, and really knowing your vision, what aligned with that vision. That's really powerful. The next question I wanted to ask is, can you tell me a little bit about your roles at Berklee, both as a professor and then also working with Berklee City Music, and what your experiences there have been, and kind of the things you've developed while being at Berklee?
Oh yeah, so my role at Berklee, I'm a professor in the ensemble department, and so I direct, or I've directed 8 different ensembles, and I'm also the artistic director of City Music. And I'll start with the ensembles. So for the past, like I said, how old am I? Yeah, so for the past 15 years, I've been really on this straight road of like being a musician, and I knew education was going to be a part of my process, but I didn't want to go to school. Like when I went to grad school, I had the opportunity to teach at a college, and I was like, no, because I don't want to be that type of teacher that teaches out of rhetoric, out of, okay, this is what you're supposed to do, this is out of textbook. I wanted to teach from experience. And so from the time that I graduated from grad school at 24, I knew that I wanted to move to New York. And I'm saying all this to say that up until then, like this whole time, I feel like God has been really preparing me to be at Berklee and to be able to speak with you all like I am today. Through my experience, because I knew that even like when I was on tour with Beyonce, it was like, there's something more here. There's something more that I want to dig into. This is not it for me, even though everybody's like, oh my God, it can't get better than that. But my spirit was like, no, there's more. And I remember sitting in rehearsal saying, I want to teach. I want to teach somewhere so that I can share this. And I had specifically said like a college, and Berklee would be amazing. But just through that, that idea, and it came to fruition. So I'm saying all that to say that at Berklee, I've been really I've been really blessed to be able to start some ensembles that hit home to me, and that I was able to experience. That I was on tour with the artists, such as Esperanza Ensemble, Esperanza Radio Music Society Ensemble, and also Christian McBride Ensemble. He's a friend of mine. The Beyonce Ensemble. And then taking the experiences that I had with like those big productions with the Beyonce or with the Beyond touring with Beyonce, and really bringing it to Berklee, because I saw that to me, when I first got to Berklee, it was like, this is like fame. You guys remember that? That's kind of, I'm probably dating myself.
I remember.
Okay. But it was basically a series of it was a TV show that was an art school, and it had every component of the arts. And I was like, this is Berklee. This is Berklee. And why not have big productions? So that's where the Ariana Grande Ensemble came, Mickey Miller, Bruno Mars, and doing these larger ensembles. So that has really been one of my babies that I've really tried to develop, and I'm really thankful that I've had upper administration and my chairs and deans in support of my ideas.
Yeah.
And then artistic director at City Music has really been a blessing. I was kind of running from this position. If is Misael on?
I don't know if he's on yet, but you know, I know he would co-sign.
Yeah. Yeah, he asked me like 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't have time, because I was still traveling and trying to balance teaching.
Yeah.
And then he came back. He's like, come on, Tia. And I was like, well, And, you know, I'm realizing how this position has allowed for me to really dig into some other characteristics and to develop certain skills that I've always had, I feel. And I love Misael because to me, he's a genius and he's a prophet and he can see things, you know. And so he was able to see that within me. And so this being the artistic director has definitely helped me to cultivate like administrative skills.
Yeah.
And beyond.
And beyond, yeah. Oh, I mean, I know that even just in my 2 years being at Berklee and having been, you know, a student in city music, like I watch your process working with the students, and then I also see the product of the productions that you have put on during my time being here, and it's just like so mind-blowing. And I feel like it's our students get so much out of it, our high school students get so much out of it, just like hearing your expertise and really having you sit with them and kind of get them to understand like how to up their game, and doing it in a really nurturing, caring way, but like getting them to that level has been amazing to witness. And then also seeing even the Berklee students get on stage and the dancing and the light show and the like costumes and all of that has been so beautiful to see. And definitely, you know, we can see the I guess the progression and the growth in the quality of production that Berklee is putting on in the ensembles that you've directed, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to give you those kudos.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, one of the quotes, and I'd like to share with the students on, is what does greatness look like? And I have all these quotes that just Spirit gives me in the moment, but I write them down. And it's like, who is great to you in your life? And again, how can you align yourself with that? Not necessarily what they're doing, but what is it within what they're doing that makes them great? That you can say, okay, that's what it looks like for me, so I'm going to make it look like that. I mean, that's what it looks like for them, so I'm going to make it look like that for me, and trying to figure out what that is, you know?
Yeah. On that note, how do you feel like you brought your touring experience in your work in the touring industry to, you know, cultivating and really building up these major ensembles at Berklee? Even in the most recent production for Black History Month, that was amazing. that was just like, whew, chills. And I know how much work must have gone into that, and even seeing the Ariana Grande experience, because it really felt like an experience. And then I feel like, have you also worked on like some of the commencement production as well?
No, I
Oh,
remember the only commencement, and I didn't even work on it. I just, I think it was my second year teaching here,
yeah,
directing the Rainbow Big Band,
right.
and that was it. We just played, and but no, I've never. I think ever since I've been doing the productions, to do a commencement concert in
Yeah.
correlation with that, I would probably be under the ground somewhere, like because
Yeah.
every spring it's just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this next year. And then after the
And then,
performance, it's like, oh, let's put
right.
it to next year.
Yeah, that feeling. Yeah, I mean, I think that I even just seeing the caliber of like last year's production and seeing what you've done, I'm just like, wait a minute, like I wonder if she has anything to do with this, because I feel like you're in so many places I wouldn't be surprised. But
No.
yeah, how has like your experience as a touring musician, like what types of tweaks and adjustments and visions have you brought to life in your execution of these ensembles, and like, you know, even down to the lighting and the choreography and the stage presence, and just kind of getting the students to be in the mindset of a professional performing musician on tour, like in that mindset, and getting them to perform at that level.
Um, that's been really tremendous. So the first large performance that we did was the Beyonce ensemble.
Yeah.
And I was telling the students, I was like, listen, y'all, because what had happened is we had 7 members of Beyonce's band come and play with Ebony, who was one of the dancers in Single Ladies. And so I was like, listen, when the band gets here, it's gonna be full out. So y'all got to go in. And they were like,
Yeah.
what? And then I was like, listen, when we hadn't played together in 10 years, we hadn't played the music in 10 years, but because of the conditioning, the rigorous conditioning that we had with Beyonce, as soon as we all got back together at Berklee, and we came together with the Berklee students. I don't know if any of you saw this. It's online on the Berklee YouTube channel.
I can try to find and drop it.
Okay. As soon as we got together, the energy was like, whoop! And then all the students were like, damn, oh my gosh, you were right. The energy just was, and they were bringing it there. I was like, I told you. So
yep.
I think the rigor of the touring experience, and then the just paying attention to detail. Like I remember, so we used to be in rehearsals for 10 to 12 hours a day for production rehearsals. And probably 2 to 3 of them, we were just sitting we were just kind of sitting there watching choreography in the dancers, or seeing the stage being set up by the crew, or looking at the light setup, And so during that time, I was actually taking notes as to, okay, how many lights are on the band? How many lights are on Beyonce?
Yeah.
I remember one time there were 10 lights on Beyonce, and there was like, each person had maybe 1 light.
Yeah.
But little things like, she never liked to have her face backlit, because she was like, you can see my flyaways in the back of my head. So make sure you get up front and doing video shoots with her and seeing how she turns and, beveling to the camera and stage presence. And so all of these things have really affected, largely not even affected, but molded me as a performer. And now I'm able to share that with students, because it's relevant. It's like what A-lists, it's right in correlation with what A-list artists are out there doing. And a lot of students want to get out there and be an artist or play behind an artist. That's what they're going to expect to do. So really, this is boot camp.
Yep.
I look at it as boot camp, because if you come in not having music learned, or, forgetting parts on a gig, like Prince used to charge every time you messed up.
Woo.
Can you guys imagine like being in rehearsal and you mess up and you get your paycheck and it's minus like $500? So I function in that mindset of reality, so that they make a smooth transition into reality, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know that when they go out into their professional lives, like they're prepared, you know, and they're better for it because of your training. And it is boot camp, you know, this is what they come to school for, to like really get the real life training, so that when they enter those experiences, it's not a surprise. They're just prepared, you know.
Right.
Um, so I want to hear a little bit about what you've been working on, what you've been writing, kind of like during this time, how have you been adapting creatively? Because I've seen you do your Tuesday talks, and I saw the one with Terrence Martin last week, and I love that. And then, you know, your live performances that you've been doing. You know, with precautions, but still finding ways to have people engage with your content and engage with your music. So what I know, I threw out a lot of out there, but just speak to anything you've been working on. I'm curious to hear.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm looking at my list right now. No.
You're like, what?
It's like, well, I could start with the performance this past weekend. And I think during this time, as artists, we're all just trying to find a way to stay connected to each other and to stay connected to the art form. And I didn't realize how, even though I've been practicing, I didn't realize how disconnected I was from playing with people. I thought that was never, you know, that was something that would never really leave me. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm sure for somebody to listen to us, it sounded fine. But for me, instinctively, it was like this performance that we did this weekend. We did a live stream prior to that for Scullers on Friday. Yep. And earlier that day on Friday, we were rehearsing, and I was like, man, I feel like an octopus. Like I have these, you know, 8 legs, and I'm trying to put everything together. It just wasn't coming out as instinctively. It wasn't connecting. And the guitar player was saying the same thing. He was like, yeah, I did a gig a couple weeks ago, and I was like missing entrances and everything else. And I'm like, wow. So I think during this time, it's really been a challenge, but I've been trying to create different avenues to stay connected, but then to also bring other, to maximize this time that I'm at home and utilizing like technology to have conversations.
Yeah.
Many times I would be on the road with different, you know, artists, and we would be on the gig, and they would be amazing artists, such as like a Terry Lynn Carrington or a Diane Reeves, or, you know, or even like Terrace Martin. Mm-hmm. But we'd only have a small amount of time to really dig deep in the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's where the Talk to Tia came, is just bringing some people who have really been a large influence in my life, who I respect, who have walked on this journey with me, and just having conversations and really digging deeper into those as well. I'm also, I also started stocks. I mean, this has nothing to do with music, but actually, the whole idea of like the financial world. So I joined an investment group every Sunday afternoon. We get together.
I love that. I love that. That is related to music, because you need to have multiple streams of income. Okay.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. So listen, I need y'all to write this down. It's important to diversify your portfolio. Meaning what you said, Samantha. In the financial world, they call it diversifying your portfolio with stocks and bonds and, you know, mutual funds. And it's not day trading, but it's just buying a specific stock and then watching and doing research. But I'm saying that really correlates with art in so many ways. But one of the ways is that, you know, we as artists, we just can't do one thing. We have to not only be proficient on our instrument, but we might have to teach. We might have to get some income from playing at church. We may have to be a copyist for someone. You know, it goes on and on and on. And I'm seeing more and more that the universality of diversifying your portfolio. And so I would say that's what I'm doing during this quarantine. I'm really trying to branch outward into like the social media world and really just really tap into that as to what do I do on a daily basis? Like I started this Divas Den tutorial where I talk about beauty products. And a couple weeks ago, I was showing how to put eyelashes on. And this is stuff that I like doing, you know, Fashion Friday. So just really trying to bring everything in my life that I love and that I enjoy together.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That is so on brand for you as well, the last piece, because I feel like you always serve the looks. You always come in with a look.
Oh, thank you.
So I know that, yeah, I'm glad that you're leaning into that as well and sharing that. But totally agree, diversifying your portfolio as an artist is so important, because you want to maximize the things you can be called on for, right? Because that creates more streams of income, and also it just gives you more opportunity to develop in different areas of your expertise as an artist and as a creative, you know, and that's super important. And they all serve each other. Like the more that you grow in one area, it might help you in others. So yeah, totally agree. So now I'm going to actually open it up for questions for students, because I want them to have the chance to ask you stuff directly. So students, you can drop the questions that you have for Tia in the chat, or if you want, you can go ahead and come off mute, and we'll have you ask them directly to Tia. So however you feel most comfortable, but the next 20 minutes are your time. So definitely take advantage while she's with us.
I'm reading some of the chats.
Yeah, they're hyping you up for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, I would love to hear from any of you. I was hoping that I'd get to speak with you directly.
Yeah.
Is this conversation interesting to you all? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Easy.
Can I ask my questions?
Yeah.
Well, first I just want to start off by saying hi, and I appreciate you like a lot. Like your playing has taught me a lot, and like just being in the city music program this is my first year, but being introduced to it has taught me a lot as an artist. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. I'm trying to find who's talking. Shouldn't that picture pop up, Samantha? Or no?
It should pop up now because I took off the spotlight from you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But I also my main question is, am I able to like receive your email or whatever so I can like it's basically I want to be able to play with you after all this goes down. I know like I'm trying to beat overcome my fears and like just freely willing to ask like the musicians that I look up to just be able to play with them, because I feel like you can learn a lot as you play too. There's different conversations that we can have that you might not be able to have in person, but through our music, it's a different language that you can like teach me. So I want to know if I can receive your email so we can set up a date probably after this whole COVID nonsense goes away.
Oh, I just want to make sure I'm hearing right, because you're breaking up just a little. You want my email?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Or you can as well. Can you hear me, Ezekiel? Uh-oh. Oh, I can't hear you. But
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Is it Ezekiel?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, you can get my email. I mean, it's T Fuller. My Berklee email is tfuller1@berklee.edu. And then if I can say something to your fear, what you were talking about, fear, like overcoming fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very natural thing to be scared, because to do something, just to move it in a direction that you're not sure of, because fear is an element. But there's one phrase that I've lived by, and it's allow for faith, basically faith over fear. So even though fear might be an element, make sure that you're moving more faithfully, and your faith is higher than your level of fear. Because if it's the other way around, if it's your fear is over your faith, then you're going to be stuck in a box. If you move fearfully, what's going to happen is that, or I'm sorry, when you move faithfully, it's going to open up such an abundance to your life. And this is something that I've seen really manifest over and over and over and over again. Even with the production, this last production of The Coming, which was based off of a book. But I was trying to create, a production off of a book. And I'm like, how am I going to do this with music and then bringing everything together? And I was faithfully moving toward my big picture, even though the vision wasn't as crystallized as I thought it was going to be. I stepped faithfully into it, which opened me up into an abundance of opportunities. So I just want to encourage you to have faith over fear. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Okay.
Awesome. Faith over fear. That's a message. That's a word.
Yes.
I received that as well.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question they want to ask? Got it. Go ahead.
I don't know if that was, I think there was two people who wanted. Okay. Hi, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. My question for you was just that, like, how do you make sure to stick to your practice routine? Like, I've made them, like, before, like, it's very easy to just write what you want to do, right? And just have your full day planned out, but it's sometimes hard to stick to that, and sometimes you get kind of lazy, or you do it one day and the next day you're like, so how do you make sure that that you stick to that, and that you're diligent, and that you practice like every day and keep to your routine that you create for yourself?
That's a great question. What is your name? I don't see your name.
Bukola.
Percola?
Bukola. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
Thank you.
That's a great question, Bukola. And I would be lying if I said I stuck to my schedules every day. But one thing that I did find is helpful is when you do write it down, like what you want to accomplish on a daily basis, of course, leading to your short-term goals, like at the end of the week and then at the end of the month. What I've seen that's helpful is the things that I don't check off throughout the day, then I make sure to hit it the next day, so that you maintain a sense of balance in your life and balance in your practice schedule, or whatever your schedule is that you have to do. And another thing that I've learned is this relationship that we have to our music and our art form, it's never going to be 50-50. I mean, ideally, if you play saxophone, flute, piano, you need to write, compose. Ideally, you'd want to do like 1 hour a day toward all of those things. So a combination of maybe 6 hours. But sometimes if you're traveling, you don't have those 6 hours. So one thing that I've seen is to really honor the process and to seek the balance even within the imbalance. So like, for example, if I'm writing for an album, I'm barely practicing, because this is a bad thing that I don't encourage you all to do, but I usually procrastinate until like really close to the record date. And so I'm like, oh God, I gotta write. And I'm not really practicing as much, but I am getting to my instrument every day just to like play melodies. But then outside of preparing for an album or writing or what have you, then I'm able to shed, every day and more so, and dig in. But there's also an element of mental practice too, and really staying connected to the idea of what it is that you're trying to work on. I remember when I was at Spelman specifically, I was practicing my diminished scales. And I remember walking out, I think I was walking to class, but I was walking out of the fine arts building through these two trees. And I remember like feeling myself to become the diminished scale and really seeing it. So there are so many ways to stay connected to our art form, even when we're not at our instrument.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
And if we do have questions, we could email you, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Fuller, I'm not gonna take a lot of the kids' time. Fuller, I love you.
I love you too. I give you a virtual hug.
Let me be quick because I don't want to take away the time. Can you tell me, Miss Fuller, because I've seen you work magic with people, with your instrument, and with your vessel as a human. Have there ever been a time when you've been working so hard and didn't get what you want and felt like you didn't get it? And how did you come over that? How did you get
Whew. There's been many times. Wow, you know what? This is a okay, so to be completely transparent, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was at the Grammys this past year or last year, and it was like a big amp up to the Grammys, you know, the dress, the stylist, the album, the red carpet, the interviews. And then I remember like sitting down in the audience and they called Wayne Shorter's name. And of course, this is Wayne Shorter. He's like the Picasso of jazz. And so at that point, I was able to exhale. But then the next day when I was, I remember I missed my flights. I was just so tired, but I was in the airport, missed the flight. I was sitting in the airport and I felt like a failure. It was the craziest thing that overcame me. I was like, I'm a failure. I didn't get the Grammy. And in that moment, after like reassessing everything that I had went through, I realized that the blessing of me getting the nomination was not for me. It was for my family. And I'm getting emotional because my sister was there and she was really having a hard time with some stuff in her life. My dad was there. He's endured a heart attack and a stroke. I'm sorry, a heart attack and a number of other things. My mom, you know, she had a stroke. She wasn't able to be there. But the joy that I saw, even my best friend was there, the joy that I saw in my family, that was a large part of the reason. And to me, that's how I overcame it. It wasn't about me, Tia. It wasn't about me. It's not about you and your Grammy. It's about how this opportunity is affording others around you to be lifted.
Thank you for that, Tia. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that great question. Ooh. Ooh.
Of course. I know that Misael, you weren't in here earlier, but Tia was definitely singing your praises about, you know, creating an opportunity for Tia to see herself in a position with some skills that she didn't even know she had. So she definitely gave you your props, and thank you for that question, because I know that touched me, and it touched a lot of other people in here. I'm gonna go ahead and give the floor over to Lord. You had a question as well, right?
Hi, yes, I did. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Ms. Tia, for being here and for giving us your insight. And I just wanted to ask, since you've been a part of so many major ensembles and you've done so many amazing things, whether it come to songwriting, whether it come to teaching, whether it come to just building your platform. And I just wanted to ask, what's some of your biggest takeaways and some of your best experiences when it comes to performing with so many incredible ensembles and building your repertoire to be able to be where you're at right now?
Are you talking about at Berklee or
Yes.
beyond Berklee? At Berklee.
Well, that and beyond. Well, yeah, beyond Berklee.
Okay. Oh wow. Well, I would say at Berklee, I think, oh, y'all are gonna make me cry today. But I think for when students come back and they're like, Miss Tia or Mama Tia, this is what you were talking about. Now I understand why you were on my behind about this. And now I understand. Thank you so much. Because now I get it. To me, when I see that light bulb go off in my former students or even current students, or I see some current students or former students out there doing the thing and they're like, Tia, now I understand. Like, the fact that they're able to create that connection within themselves as to what I was trying to pour into them, but for them to understand the capacity of the relevance for themselves, that to me is the most extraordinary feeling in the world.
That's incredible.
For example, Tyson Jackson, he just played with me. I had a backyard concert. If you all go to my Instagram page, it's Tia Fuller 1, and I've been posting. But we had a backyard concert, and he just graduated from Berklee, but he's been a student of mine for the past 4 years. And to hear his growth and to see the young man, and it's not just about his musicianship, but it's the totality of your being. And he is a beautiful man. He's a beautiful, spiritually grounded young man who is respectful. He always says thank you. And he's always on time. He's a business-oriented man. And I see his total self, and that makes my heart smile because I already know. And so as a result of him playing, there was a quote that I always tell my students, and it's like, each opportunity should breed new opportunity. So if you're given an opportunity, you know that you're on the right path if it breeds something else. Not to be an opportunist, but if it's organically, naturally going to open something, that's when you know you're on your right path. And so as a result of him playing with my band for the first time ever, and he came in and killed it, the bass player was like, yeah, man, let me get your number. I want to, hook you up. I'm going to try to get you on the Theo Croker gig. Like, Mama Tia, and so to me, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm like, yes, that's it. That's it. So that brings so much, to me, that's one of my largest accomplishments as an educator, and not even as an educator, I think as a person.
Yeah.
See that with my nieces and nephews, my sister, my close friends getting promotions, and then I think as a performer, it's around the same idea of when people come up to me and say, in particular, I remember I was doing this gig in Vermont, and this individual came up, and I didn't think the performance was that great, but they came up to me and said, Tia, I want to thank you. And I was like, oh, thank you. And they were like, no, I want to thank you because you saved my life.
Wow.
And I was like, what? They were like, just last night, I was thinking about committing suicide.
Wow.
And so the thing is, as musicians and artists, you never know who you're touching.
Yeah.
And the lives that you're saving. So we have that obligation. Many times we're so focused on perfecting our craft, which we should be doing, that we eliminate this other side of, I'm serving a light for somebody else.
You forget the power of the music that you're making.
Exactly. And the intent and the purpose behind it. It's not just music, but it's like the intent. One of my former students, actually, just last night, she texted me and she was like, Mama Tia, can you listen to this? I'm working on this. And I was just wondering what you think. And the bottom line is that I felt her spirit and her intent come out to where it was 11 o'clock at night and I was in tears. I was like, this is the complete, and it wasn't perfect, but her spirit, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
And you have that, I can tell.
Oh, thank you.
You have that.
Thank you so much. I'm Lord Childs.
Lord Childs, yes, you are.
Thank you, Miss Tia. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Vance, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Tia.
Hi, how are you, Vince?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, actually, so when you were talking about your students, that really set me up for the question I want to ask. So like I'm going to the college in the fall, and I'm like really excited. Like,
Yeah.
and since I've been on the campus like all the time, I get to see the Ariana Grande ensemble and the Beyonce ensemble. It's like I've been like drooling over them. Like I want to be in them because I hear everyone in them being like how much of a community it is, as well as like a great growing experience. So I'm like, just want to ask, like, how can I prepare myself to be in that? Because like I really, really want to do that when I get to the college. And then also, like, how do I? Because like what you do, when you do with Beyonce and all that, like I'm kind of like that's my dream job, is to become a touring guitarist and backup artist and stuff like that. Definitely, and especially in R&B. So like then like while I'm in college, like how would I prepare myself for that line of work and stuff like that?
Okay.
So, sorry.
No. So the latter part of your question, we got to get you in one of my ensembles. I will help you prepare for that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, the question was, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I guess it was just more like, how do I prepare myself to become, a touring musician like you and stuff like that? I know it's a hard question.
No, I mean, it's not a hard question. One of the things is that there's, and this isn't the most important, but it is a factor. And it's, outside of all the preparation, there's a networking component of, okay, again, not trying to be an opportunist, meaning like constantly seeking opportunity, but strategically placing yourself in the environment that you want to become a part of. And figuring out how you can become visible in that space of performance. But then coming back down to your, or up to your musicality, just making sure that you're practicing good practices, that you're being on time for rehearsals. I mean, these are all things, like I was talking about, the total musician is being on time for rehearsals, that you're respectful, that you're learning music, that you're actually going above and beyond of learning music. If somebody says, learn this, and they give you a sheet of music, then you come back and you have the whole album memorized. And I'll tell you a brief story. I know we're almost out of time, but one of the gigs with Ralph Peterson, he's a jazz, well, he teaches at Berklee, but he's an amazing drummer. And I wanted to play in his band. And so I ended up going to sit in with him. And prior to sitting in with him, he had a quintet. It was trumpet and tenor saxophone. And the tenor saxophone I don't play tenor, but I knew I could not play him. So I was like, okay, let me just figure out how I could kind of etch my way. So what I did was, on all of his music, I created a third part. So that when I sat in with him, he was like, Tia, you want to come sit? I'm like, yeah. He was like, what do you want to play? I'm like, whatever you want to play. He's like, what? And I'm like, we could play whatever. So I learned all his music and then created a third part on the music, to where he expanded his band to a septet. So be deliberate and intentional with where you want to be and what artist you want to play with. And you can start doing that now, just learning people's music, go to their concerts. Berklee is a perfect space for artists coming in and out all of the time. And in most cases, one of your professors is going to have a personal relationship with them.
Right.
For example, I had a good friend of mine, Dmitry Gorodetsky. He tours with Charlie Puth, but he also tours with Raphael Sadiq, and he does some stuff with him. But basically, one of my students who met him was like, oh my goodness, I want to meet Derek. He's a great producer. His name's escaping me. But indirectly, it's one of my students' like heroes for producing. And so he met him through that. So just really prepare, like overly prepare, and be really specific as to where you want to be, and then just start creating a network of not only skill, but of the people in that environment. And we can talk more about that once you get, just email me once you get to Berklee.
Okay? Oh, yeah, of course I will. I'll make that a priority once the semester starts.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you. I look forward to seeing you.
I know that we are at time, but Tia, is it okay if we make time for just one more question?
Sure, yeah. And I'm sorry for being so long-winded, y'all.
No, this is what this is for. Chantel, go ahead.
Hi, I'll make this super quick. I'm so sorry.
Hi,
Hey! Oh, thank you so much for being here. You've already dropped so much wisdom, and I know that like I've been really appreciating people who come in and just give us these like nuggets of knowledge that I know that like not a lot of people are going to tell us these things, especially at this age. So I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you're telling us your story. What I've been struggling with as a vocalist for a while is knowing how to balance the performative aspect, making sure that you tell the story, but also, focusing on technique and making sure that you can like physically tell the story in the best way possible. So I guess I'm wondering how, and like if we're looking at Beyonce, who like she's able to deliver but also give like 100% technique. Like how do you find like give 100% to both without like having to sacrifice the other?
That's a great question, Chantel. Wow. I mean, you're talking about like the performance moving around and then sing and making sure that the level is equivalent. Yeah. Right. Nothing sacrificing. Yeah, so you have to shed that collective process just like you shed both of those individually, to where you're moving around and you're playing. And I had to do this even on the saxophone when I got the Beyonce gig, because I was not used to doing choreography and dancing in heels all at once. We were all tripping over our feet. But one of the things, and this is a great question. No one's ever asked me this question before, which is really great. So thank you. But one thing that I realized is that stripping it down, both of those skills down to the core elements and the basics. So making sure that when you're practicing your vocal technique, that you're really practicing, okay, where am I breathing from? In the stillness of just vocal technique, where am I breathing from? Am I using my head voice? Is my intonation? Like you really got to dig deep on both of those individually, so that the perfection that you're creating as you're working on those individually, when they come together, they come in alignment with each other, and it becomes a natural part of your performance.
Right.
Does that make sense? So, yeah. For example, when I first got the Beyonce gig, the choreographer, Frank Gatson, who is a trip, he used to work with Michael Jackson. He was like, okay, y'all, what we gonna do? And he was like, put your instruments down. And we were like, what? He said, put them down. And so we're like, okay. And we went into the dance studio, got on the bar. He was like, all right, I want everybody to walk, what is it? Do the fashion, walk the, what do you call it?
You mean Vogue? Is that?
Not Vogue, but you just walk in the
catwalk? Yeah.
The what? The catwalk.
Catwalk?
Yeah. So he's like, I want everybody to walk down like the catwalk. And all of us, we weren't doing this. We got Nikki Glaspie, who, we got folks. And he's like, do the catwalk and do your best glamour pose. And so we all did that. And he was like, no. So we had to go to dance classes to refine that part of ourselves, so that when we picked up our instruments, that became an innate part of us. But we had to strip ourselves from what was comfortable and strip ourselves from our strengths and really dig into our weaknesses. And is that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say something else, and I'm sorry. I didn't get much sleep last night. But basically, when you're able to do that, to like really focus on one thing and know that it becomes an innate part of you. When it comes together, it's only going to be at that level and no worse. And if it feels like it's getting worse, then you get rid of that other thing and you work on your weakness, and then you bring it back together. And once you have it, doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to have it. And another just brief story is I sat in, so I haven't been with Beyonce for a little while and doing choreography. I mean, I'll dance around with students and stuff, but I haven't been going full out like that. And Trombone Shorty was here about 2 years ago, and he asked me to come up and play with him. It was a show in Boston. And one of my other sisters from Beyonce's ensemble, who was still, or Beyonce band, who was still playing with him. So I'm up there and I'm playing and I'm doing his choreography, but I'm getting tired. And then, and even my girl Crystal, she was like, "Girl, I could tell you know, you haven't really been on stage like that." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's been like what, almost 10 years that I've been doing this." So you got to keep it up. You got to keep it up.
Yeah.
If you have something, I mean, you hear artists all the time who have the vocalese and expertise. And I mean, Mariah Carey, I don't know if you all check that. But anyway, but you just got to keep, you just always have to refine, is what I'm saying. And to make sure that that balance is there, that your strong points are there on both sides.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone who asked questions, and a big thank you, Tia, for joining us this week. We greatly appreciate you being here and sharing all of your wisdom, and you know, you're just incredible. So thank you so much for your contribution. Students, I put in the chat, I shared Tia's email address. So if you have additional questions, you want to connect with her separately, you can absolutely do so. And yeah, I encourage you to follow her on social media and tune into the chats. But we thank you, Tia. We're very grateful for you. So
thank you, Samantha. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you in real life.
Yes, we'll all connect in real life one day. But thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you next week. Oh, someone shared their screen with your Ezekiel showed that he's listening to Diamond Cut.
Oh no! Thank you. And I see somebody mentioned my nephew, Kobe. Are you all talking about Kobe Royston? It says in this chat, it says Kobe is the next generation. I think there aren't too many Kobe's out there, but.
Because me, I'm friends with Kobe. I was in like All-State with him.
Oh, yay! Nice to meet you, Paul.
What?
Nice to meet you. Do you play drums?
No, I play bass.
Okay.
I was in the rhythm section with Kobe, and I just saw his Instagram. I saw you playing with him, so I was like, I was gonna ask you next time you're with him, send me an invite.
Yeah, we will. I'm gonna be heading there next week because it's his mom's birthday, and so I'll be there. And we'll probably be playing in the basement again.
All right.
So I'll tell him. Nice to meet you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.